Terminator Dark Fate. Now, I was born in 1971, so all the Terminator movies were in my wheelhouse growing up. I've seen all of them, multiple times. Yes, I've even seen Terminator Genisys, I think twice. So, Terminator, Terminator 2, Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation, and the aforementioned Terminator Genisys. So Terminator Dark Fate, I was a little confused when I saw previews for this movie because I was like, why and how and what is this? Why are they making this again? Because I thought at this point, 5 Terminator movies, probably enough. Because like most franchises, the first one is really good, the second one is even better, the third one is okay, the fourth one is passable, and Terminator Genisys, was kind of like, okay, please be done with these because now we're just jumping sharks and there's just wackiness happening. So I wasn't real excited about going and seeing it in the theater. The reviews came out. They were very negative. So I was like, you know what? I saw it at the Redbox. I guess I should see it. I've seen all the other ones. So henceforth, I'm going to do some plot summaries and some spoilers. So I'll leave a timestamp in the description for this review and the overall grade I give this movie. So we'll go ahead and start away. Now I'm going to be honest. Dark Fate, not good. Not very good. Problems. Lots of problems with this movie. All kinds of problems. The first being, who is it for? Because it don't make a lot of sense. People like me who have seen every single one of these movies are thinking we're going to have a continuation of that same storyline. What we get is a kick in the crotch, as in the first 10 minutes of the movie, a Terminator, which for some reason is still looking for John Connor, we'll get into that giant plot quagmire later, kills John Connor, who was on vacation with his mom in Mexico. And this picks up right where Terminator 2 leaves off. Okay. So this movie ignores Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation, and Terminator Genisys, which, depending on how you feel about those movies, may be a good thing. But, so you have, 12, 13-year-old computer-generated Edward Furlong as John Connor gets shot in some village in Mexico. And basically it makes the first 2 Terminator movies null and void. So at the end of Terminator 2, they basically reset the clock. They eliminated Skynet, and that we thought we were going towards a more positive future. And then all of a sudden in this movie, for some reason, there's a Terminator still wandering around, and he finds John Connor and he shoots him. And so that destroys everything that happened in the first 2 movies.
Yoink! And away!
But after this scene where John Connor dies, you get introduced to Grace, who is kind of a hybrid human Terminator person machine who comes back in time, but she's not coming to protect John Connor because he's been dead for 20 years or something like that at this point. She comes to protect some random girl who's working in a car factory in Mexico, named Danny, I think is her name. Danny. And you're led to believe that Danny now becomes the mother of a person who is going to lead the resistance. They're being chased by a Terminator, who is a liquid Terminator, but can also separate himself into a metal exoskeleton and a liquid self. I don't know. I wasn't real clear about that, but whatever. They run into Sarah Connor. They're being chased by the Terminator. Sarah Connor's been getting all these random messages from someone she doesn't know who tells her when Terminators are showing up and where, and then she goes and blows them up and kills them. And through a series of detective work, if you will, they figure out that this is in Laredo or outside Laredo, And the guy doing it turns out to be the Terminator who killed John Connor all those years ago. He is apparently continued to evolve as a being and now has a platonic relationship with a mother and child, and he lives in a cabin and he sells drapes.
Yoink! And away!
Huh? So, of course, she's having all these issues. Now, it turns out Grace has been given these same kind of messages, same coordinates, and so they kind of both end up with their own information that leads them to the same spot. So, of course, Danny and Grace have to convince Sarah Connor not to kill this version of the Terminator because he's a good guy, sort of. Now, you know, this, of course, is Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then he joins the crew. So now there's 4 of them running around trying to save the girl from the Terminator. It turns out the reason they're trying to save her is not just because she's the mother. She is the actual resistance leader, because despite the fact that Skynet was destroyed, people in the military created another AI called Legion, which also became self-aware and also decided to kill all the people, and then also decided to send a machine back in time to kill the leader of the human resistance that survived Judgment Day.
Yoink! And away!
Uh-huh. Okay. Ugh. So, they're fleeing the Terminator, and they get to play. There's a big battle at a dam. They grind him up. You know, he's pretty much unstoppable, but they manage to grind parts of him up, and you know, he's got the exoskeleton still after the girl, and for some reason, Grace, the half human, half machine, has a, I don't know, some kind of power core in her. So she sacrifices for the team, and basically Danny has to take the power source out of Grace, and she shoves it in the Terminator, and it blows him up, and you know, she goes on to be the leader of the resistance or something. I don't know at that point. Yeah, apparently at the end of the movie, the only 2 left are Sarah Connor and Danny. Sarah Connor now has a new charge that she has to take care of, and roll credits. Now that's a pretty, you know, simple explanation of the plot of this movie. Yikes. I mean, I don't know what to say. This movie was produced by James Cameron. I don't know if he produced Terminator 3 or Terminator Salvation or Terminator Genesis. I'm tempted to think no, because the movie ignores all 3 of those movies. And it is, man, is it a ripoff of T2. Everything about it is almost a total ripoff. Terminator 2, you have the great T-1000, as the Arnold Schwarzenegger character describes him. T-1000 advanced liquid metal prototype. You know, can make knives and stabbing weapons. Okay, guess what you got in this movie? The same thing. Okay, you got another liquid Terminator that can only make knives and stabbing weapons. Yikes. Now, it's made out of some kind of black stuff instead of silver, metally, mercury-looking stuff. So I guess that's a big change. And for some reason, he can pull his skin off and leave, which somehow still forms a solid object. And he has his Terminator exoskeleton that can also run around and do stuff. Okay, why, how, who cares, who knows, whatever. Okay, so there's all these action scenes, right? They're literally just repeats of what I saw in Terminator 2. They get chased by a big 18-wheeler in Terminator 2. They get chased by a big 18-wheeler in this one. They get chased by a Terminator in a helicopter. They get chased by a Terminator in a helicopter in this one too. I'm like, really? We just retreaded the same thing? So this is the point where I started wondering, who is this movie made for? Are we just assuming that people watching it have never seen any Terminator movies? Because if you take it from that aspect and look at it as just a movie that is for people who've never seen or heard of any Terminator movies, it might be passable. But if anyone who has seen, especially T2 and the first Terminator, if you have seen those two movies, you're going to look at this movie like garbage, because it is. It's just a total retread of it. And this poor girl, they put in the lead as Danny, the future leader. I'm going to have to borrow the critical drinkers analysis of her as a plank of wood. She has no real acting ability whatsoever. She gives a speech at one point in a flash forward from Grace's character, where I guess it's supposed to be the turning point of her as a leader. And she literally says in total deadpan, "We need to fight the machines and not each other." Wow, that's amazing. What an original concept. I can't believe no one else had thought of that on planet Earth. So she's the only one who said it, and said it so inspiring. I mean, I clearly would be willing to run through walls for this woman. Definitely not a very charismatic leader, but apparently that's all you got, so that's who you got. I don't know. Very disappointed in that. You know, the actress who plays Grace is Mackenzie Davis, I believe. She's pretty good at her action fighting scenes. I don't understand the concept of a half human, half Terminator. You know, in Terminator Genesis, we had the Terminator who didn't know he was a Terminator because he thought he was human. This is kind of the opposite. It's a human who is a Terminator but doesn't. I don't know. She's enhanced. She goes through some kind of medical procedure where she gets enhanced. How does she get enhanced? I don't know. She's strong. Can she do other stuff? I don't know. Who knows? They don't tell us. They don't tell us how long it took. They don't tell us where they got the technology for it. They do tell us that she can fight like a Terminator, but only for very short periods, because the belief is that if you can't kill a Terminator in the first few minutes of conflict, it's going to kill you. Now, this is an absolutely stupid concept. Why would you create something like this? Well, we created a super soldier that can only fight for 5 minutes, and then it's going to need a whole bunch of food and water to suck down to power its mechanical innards, which I also don't understand. I mean, it's got a power core. She has a power core in her. She takes it out of her later on and uses it to blow something up. What does she need water for? What is that doing? Is she overheating? They don't ever even tell us. She just kind of stumbles around like she's drunk at a sorority party or something.
Yoink and away!
The major problem with this movie is the philosophical stuff behind it. In the first two movies, you get a lot of there's no fate but what we make. There is no fate. People can change the future by their actions in the present. And that's what happens by the end of Terminator 2. By shooting John Connor at the very beginning of the movie, and then having the exact same scenario play itself out with a new AI that comes along and does the same thing the old AI does, you immediately say that the no fate but what you make philosophy is null, void, and doesn't work. Now, unfortunately, that means the movie I just watched, Terminator Dark Fate, is completely meaningless. Because it also means that no matter what this girl does, you can have the exact same scenario play out, where she is going to fight Legion, the new AI, defeat it, and then someone will create another one that'll do exactly the same thing. I don't know if this is meant to spin off another 200 years of Terminator reboots and sequels or not, or if it's just something the writers weren't real sharp about when they wrote the script. Because I'm watching this movie realizing that none of it matters. It don't matter. Who cares? This is completely irrelevant. Somebody can just make a new AI. The AI could make a new AI. Who knows, right? It just makes no sense. I'm not really even sure what to say about Arnold Schwarzenegger's character in this movie. There is so much wrong with it. He talks about being able to sense temporal displacements whenever a Terminator comes back. First off, why are there Terminators coming back? Who's sending them? Are these coming from Skynet? Are they coming from Legion? Does he have, just an innate ability to sense that because he came through a temporal displacement? Or does he have like a temporal displacement radar somewhere in the garage? I don't know. They don't tell us. It's just magic, he knows.
Yoink! And away!
The whole thing with now he lives with a family and has his own drape business makes absolutely no sense. And also, they treat it like a total joke. If you're gonna put that stuff in there, we don't even have a scene where he interacts with his wife and son other than to say, go in and make us some food, and stepson, go in and get us some Cokes or beers or something. I'm like, that's it. You get a scene where they're driving away in a car, and one of the, I think if Sarah Connor says, why are they leaving? And he says, well, I told them that you people were bad news and people were coming to try to kill you, so they decided they would leave and they just left. We don't get any interaction where nobody asks her the question, his wife character, nobody asks, hey, what's it like living with this big guy who sells drapes? And is he nice to you? And how has he been a nice dad to you, kid? And stuff like that. And he's very dedicated and he proves that he really cares for us. You don't get any of that. It's just, I got me a wife, I got me a kid, I got me a drape business. Okay, we're done with that. We're going to blow stuff up now. Totally unnecessary. He could have just been living in a cabin by himself. Why would you even put a wife and kid in there if you're not going to do anything with them but throw them out in the garbage as soon as it all goes haywire? I don't know. Why does he have a job? What does he need with money? He's living forever. So why does he have a drape business? And why is it a drape business? Why doesn't he teach people how to shoot guns? Doesn't he open a gun range or something? That seems more in line with what he would do. But why does he even have to have a job? I don't understand why he's not just living in a shack in the middle of nowhere, keeping away from people so they don't find out he's some kind of killer robot and then dissect him and tear him to pieces and create another AI. Oh, yeah. It just, that whole part of it made no sense to me. It was filler. It was a waste of time. But a lot of this movie is a waste of time. So, yeah, this movie is just not good. It's a D. I'm giving it a 100% D. The only redeeming quality of it is if you've never seen a Terminator movie before, you will look at the action scenes and go, wow, those are pretty cool. Now, you're not going to know. It's basically an exact copy of all the stuff that was in T2. But sure, whatever. If you don't know that, I guess it's okay. Again, not sure who this movie was marketed for. Apparently, new fans of Terminators who were begging for a robot movie where robots tried to kill people. I guess. I wasn't aware that was a large crowd, but maybe it is. But if you've seen any of the other Terminator movies, you're not going to like this one. You're just not. You can get into the forced politics of, three female characters doing stuff and men being incompetent and all that. But again, if the script is better, you have your own original ways that the Terminator is trying to kill people and own original ways that the Terminator is chasing them and fighting them. I don't know that really makes that big a difference about who is doing what and how many women are doing this and how many men are doing that. I don't think it really matters that the movie's good. But when the movie is not good, those kinds of political decisions you put in it magnify it to such a point that it becomes a huge distraction to the movie on top of all the other disastrous things you've done in this movie. So, if you are a Terminator fan like me, I'm on the fence about whether or not you should spend $1.50 on it. I did it just so I could tie up my Terminator franchise. Okay? I've seen all the other ones. They got progressively worse, so I guess I'll just go see this one. It's pretty much the death of the franchise. This movie did not do well in the box office. It did not do well critically. It did really bad with fans. So I would severely doubt we're getting any more Terminator movies, unless it's a complete and total reboot where they go, back to the very beginning of the first one and just remake it or something. So, if you have an interest in action movies with a science fiction bent, and you're into time travel movies, it's probably a C- from that standpoint. It's still not very good. So I would say out of the two movies, definitely check out Angel Has Fallen over Terminator Dark Fate. Angel Has Fallen is a standard popcorn summer action flick. Pretty solid, not spectacular, not terrible. Terminator Dark Fate is absolutely terrible. All of it. So, that being said, thus ends another Redbox Double Feature. Now, subscribe, click the like button, add some comments if you agree or disagree with anything I said. Give me some ideas from some other things you'd like to see reviewed. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later.